I've made so many videos talking about Sgt. Pepper's on this channel that I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are starting to think I don't even like the album, but hear me out. I absolutely adore this album. It is, in my opinion, one of the greatest albums ever made, one of the greatest achievements in music history, extremely impactful and influential too, but it's also true that there was a lot of things surrounding this record that, if done differently, would have made the album 1,000 times better, and that is exactly what this video is about. Because believe it or not, the original idea for Sgt. Pepper's was way different than the one we ended up getting. It was supposed to be a double album, if I'm not wrong. It was supposed to have many more songs that were left off the record for one reason or the other. Now, please, with this, I'm not trying to say that the band members had something different planned for Sgt. Pepper's. I'm just saying that there were a lot of songs that were conceived as part of the album that were not included on the record, and in my opinion, would have made the album a way better experience overall. This is all speculation. This is all my opinion, so if you disagree, go ahead and leave it down below in the comments, and I'll make sure to check it out and give you my opinion on your opinion. Now, the very first wasted opportunity regarding Sgt. Pepper's comes in the form of the promotional singles, Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane. These two songs were originally conceived as part of the album, however, recommended by George Martin, were released as promotional singles because of the hit potential of both songs, and also because they were two of the greatest tracks from the band at the time. You know, they were experimenting with this new sound. Obviously, Revolver was pretty psychedelical too, but not as colorful and as out there as Sgt. Pepper's was supposed to be. Therefore, he thought that these songs were a great introduction to this new sound of the band, and he wasn't wrong. There are two of the most popular Beatles songs out there, and back in 1967, they created anticipation and excitement for the album. Everyone was hyped. They wanted to know what the Beatles were going to do with this new colorful instrumentation that these two songs showed. However, the band back then had this weird rule that if they released a song as a promotional single prior to the release of the album, the songs were not to be included on the record, because it would technically mean that the fans would have to pay twice for the same tracks, because you have to buy them as a single and then you buy the album with the tracks in it, and it's kind of like not fair. However, this meant that the Beatles missed a huge opportunity because these songs match the energy of Sgt. Pepper's perfectly. There's the rich instrumentation, the colorful production, the high-pitched vocals, the psychedelic elements. Everything about these songs screams Sgt. Pepper's to you. So it was almost a crazy idea to leave two of the greatest songs by the band outside of this wonderful album. However, there's also some other reasons. For example, the fact that the band really liked the way the track list was set. So if they were to include these two songs, they didn't want to take any of the songs out. Even if today, you know, we look at songs like Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite or Good Morning, and we say, you know, maybe you could have let those songs out. Back then, the band didn't really think so. They really liked how the album was packed, so including these two songs without making the record a double album, keeping everything in one disc, would mean that the quality of the record was going to be lower. And because the instrumentation is one of the main reasons why Sgt. Pepper's is so celebrated, the band wanted the people to enjoy the instrumentation at its highest quality, which was another reason not to include these songs. You know, two songs don't really justify a double album. But that leads me to my second point here, and in my opinion, the biggest one. Because after this record was released, the band wanted to make a movie. Paul McCartney had the idea of making a movie with the same psychedelic nature of Sgt. Pepper's, and that's the reason why today we have Magical Mystery Tour, a movie or a film, if you want to be more specific, that even if you were to be the biggest Beatles fan ever, I don't really recommend for you to watch, because it's a mess. It's not enjoyable to watch. Again, even if you're a fan, you're not going to have fun. But thanks to that movie, we have the soundtrack under the same name, Magical Mystery Tour, that even if it's not ranked among the greatest albums by the band, it still has a lot of great songs, and that is exactly my point. Many of the songs in this record were originally conceived as songs that belonged to the Sgt. Pepper's project, and many people believed that Sgt. Pepper's was supposed to be a double album with a lot of the songs that were released on Magical Mystery Tour and a lot of tracks that were not released up until the White Album, and even some from the Catback sessions. And this is just theory. I am not saying that this is real, but given the fact of how similar in nature both albums are, it's really not that hard to believe. Also, the fact that they were released in 1967 too. Now, I want you to use your imagination for a minute. I want you to imagine an album that has the best songs from Sgt. Pepper's and the best songs from Magical Mystery Tour. You have tracks like Blue Way J, which was George Harrison's best psychedelic track in 1967. I Don't Care About Love You Too, and I Don't Care About Within You Without You. You also have songs songs like Hello Goodbye, I Am the Walrus, Strawberry Fields Forever, and Penny Lane were also included on this album, but because we already talked about those tracks, I'm not going to include it in this discussion too. The Fool on the Hill, Baby You're a Rich Man, Your Mother Should Know, I mean, so many great tracks that sound so perfectly well when you put them inside Sgt. Pepper's. How do I know this? Because people have made playlists of how a record like this would sound, and honestly, it sounds amazing. Some of these playlists are an hour and a half long, and I know that a lot of people don't really like long albums. That is the reason also why Sgt. Pepper's is one of the most popular Beatles albums out there, because it's only 39 minutes long. I understand, you know, a lot of people don't have the time to listen to an hour and a half album, but that doesn't really mean that the quality of the album isn't excellent when you put all these tracks together. You don't need to raise or lower the pitch in any of the songs. You don't need to change the instrumentation. Everything sounds as colorful. You don't need to change the songwriting style. Everything matches pretty well because originally they were conceived as part of the same project. The fact that so many of these amazing songs were postponed to be released as part of a soundtrack for a shitty movie is beyond me. I don't really understand why this happened. Also, it completely violates the rule of not including the singles on the albums because Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane are in this record. So I don't really understand if they included it on this one. Why couldn't you just put it in Sgt. Pepper's? I don't understand. Now let's just imagine for a moment, let's speculate here that the band didn't really want to make a double album, which is the reason why Sgt. Pepper's is 39 minutes long, and then they decided to make the soundtrack of Magical Mystery Tour with all the tracks that were left off the Sgt. Pepper sessions, right? Let's say that for a moment that's what happened. That doesn't really explain to me why songs like Good Morning, or Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, or When I'm 64, Within You, Without You, songs that I truly enjoy but in my opinion don't really belong to Sgt. Pepper's, were picked to be on the album over songs like Baby You're a Rich Man, Hello Goodbye, I Am the Walrus, The Fool on the Hill, songs that match the energy of Sgt. Pepper's way better than many of the songs I said just a second ago. That I don't understand, and it is well known that these tracks were already written when Sgt. Pepper's was being recorded, so there's no excuse to not include these songs on Sgt. Pepper's, which is the reason why, in my opinion, Sgt. Pepper's has a whole lot of wasted potential. And this whole argument about, you know, the band not wanting to make a double album doesn't really make any sense to me, because then how do you explain the White Album? How do you explain the Abbey Road medley? How do you explain so many instances where the band ignored the norm or what was best for marketing in order to maintain the integrity of their creativity and their idea? You know, that's the reason why this album is so puzzling for me. When I look at it, I feel like it was supposed to be way bigger. That's the reason why so many of these playlists that people make on Reddit and places like Quora make so much sense to me, because it feels like that was the natural flow of the album. I recommend that you guys Google Magical Mystery Tour and Sgt. Pepper's combined, and you're gonna find so many different track lists and ways to arrange the album in order for it to make sense. So you're gonna find that in a lot of these cases it sounds better. Maybe it wouldn't have been that impactful, maybe it wouldn't have been so popular. You know, you can theorize and speculate all you want, but for me it sounds natural. You know, the progression of these two albums together, when arranged properly, just sounds too good to be a coincidence, which is why I feel like Sgt. Pepper's and Magical Mystery Tour belong to the same project that we never saw because the band had different ideas. Overall, man, when I look at Sgt. Pepper's and I look at all the songs that were supposed to be on that album, I truly hate to say it, but I believe that a huge potential was wasted. And for me, if all these songs were to be included on the record, if tomorrow they release like a ultimate version where all the songs from Magical Mystery Tour, or you know, the best ones or the ones that make sense, are included on the Sgt. Pepper's, and they get rid of songs like Good Morning, songs that really don't do anything for the album, I believe we would see a better version of Sgt. Pepper's. I know that a lot of you will disagree with me. I know a lot of people think the original way it was released is the perfect one, but please, even if you are very conservative when it comes to this album, I invite you and I recommend for you guys to look at all the different playlists and look at how people play with the track list, and honestly, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun. However, this is only my personal opinion, so if you have your own, and I'm pretty sure you do, go ahead and leave it down below in the comments, and I'll make sure to check it out and give you my opinion on your opinion. We can have a small discussion in the comments section. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any other videos that I upload. If you want me to talk about any other topics related to music, if you want me to check out an album, a song, or an artist, you can leave it down below as well, and I'll make sure to check it out and fulfill your requests as soon as I can. With that being said, once again, I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I hope that I can see you soon with a new video. But until then, bye.